please tell the ushers to give you another copy. The feedback forms, they are very important to us. They are very important to us. Please fill out the feedback forms. It's a very short form. We don't need your name. Just fill it out with the information that we require. So like I said, we've come to the last segment of today, the last presentation, which will be taken by Mr. Rich Label. Please, let's settle down as we listen to him. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. So I'm sure everyone's a little bit sleepy after eating, but I can tell you guys we are just about done here. We're in the home stretch. But before we finished up with our stuff, our presentations, I just wanted to, you guys have had a lot of information over the past 2 days, and you've heard a lot about how it's important to try and tie money into these investigations. And I thought I would leave you guys by telling you or showing you a case that we're working in the U.S. right now that's resulted strictly based off of essentially looking at financial transactions. So, let me grab my glasses. Back in November, one of our analysts that works for me at TRAC decided to go into the TRAC system and run a query for the people that are receiving the most amount of money in the state of Arizona through the MSBs. Remember I told you guys yesterday, one of the functions of the TRAC system, of the TRAC software, is it gives you the ability to run queries on individuals or phone numbers that are the highest payees or the highest senders of money around the world. So one of our analysts did this back in November and came up with this phone number down here at the bottom. That was the number 6 for over about a 5-month period. I'm sorry, this was done back in April. So you see on the right-hand side the suspected activity, and the reason we know that some of those investigations were tied to drugs, and people may be wondering why we're able to say that, is because we found out they were tied to previous investigations. But the one down at the bottom was one that we started looking at more. And when our analysts discovered this, he found out that there was $13,000 over a 5-month period. Not a ton of money, but it was sending frequently. In fact, 18 times is what it was sending. That number was being utilized in financial transactions on 18 different occasions over about a 5-month period. And this was the individual who was sending the money, a female that was traveling around the United States. And the guy on the right, Antoine Mack, is the same. He's the benefactor of all these transactions. He was the one that was receiving the money, always being paid out in Phoenix, Arizona. So when our analysts started looking at this individual here, Alejandra, you notice that she had multiple arrests around the United States for prostitution and being an unlicensed escort. Our analysts requested those arrest reports, the police reports from the various cities, to see what kind of information was in there, to see if any reference was ever made to Antoine Mack, the individual receiving money. And only in one report did she talk about Antoine. She said she had a boyfriend in Phoenix whose name was Antoine, but she never made any kind of reference to him in any of the other reports. So this is what we found on Backpage. I told you guys about Backpage. Does Baidu show photos? Yes. Okay. So you guys remember I told you about the product Marinus Analytics, that we use a software that does web crawling? One of the features of that program is it will do facial recognition for you. So I always recommend to police departments that we speak to around the country, I said, if you have a missing persons unit within your police department for kids that are missing, you guys should have that program, because you can download photographs of missing children into that program and run it against this, and it has a facial recognition feature. And you know, Tony and Amanda will tell you a lot of kids that are runaways in the United States end up on Backpage being trafficked. So if you have a runaway in a city, it's probably a good idea to have their grab their photograph, and it can be any photograph, and download it. And this has that software that it's a super reliable, high percentage hit facial recognition. So that was what was found. Her ad was found on Backpage, utilizing a phone number right here that showed up in our financial transactions. So we took the phone number from our financial transactions, ran it against this traffic jam product that's put up by Marinus Analytics, and we found this ad. But it was only one single ad. So this product has a feature called Trails, where you can find an ad, you can pick out an ad and run what's called the trail feature. And what the software does is it will recognize any other phone numbers that have been utilized by this individual. So if you had, for example, in Badu, if you had a phone number that was being utilized by a girl, you could click on the trail feature and it'll pull up all previous ads that have been associated with other phone numbers have been associated with her. So what happened was, like I said, it was used for a single Backpage ad, but then we found 63 additional results when we ran the Trails feature. And then looking at those previous ads at the photos, we were able to identify her by looking at the photos, being able to determine that it was the same individual. So last April, she got arrested in Albuquerque for, she's had several arrests in Albuquerque, New Mexico. New Mexico is a state that borders Arizona, but she's been posting ads all around the United States. So during this one particular arrest, like I said, she gave investigators access to her phone, and she had mentioned Antoine, and she just said she sends money to him. It's her boyfriend that lives out of state. But we actually had to prompt them to go start looking at her phones, because the investigators weren't going through her phones. But they said it looked like there was a pimp-prostitute relationship based on some of the text messages that were being exchanged. The other thing was, as you guys noticed, we talked about branding yesterday. Investigators noted that she had a tattoo with Antoine's name and a crown. So we found a bunch of other phone numbers, ran them through Track, and found the Marinus Analytics product, Traffic Jam, and found, I can't remember the exact number of financial transactions, but it was dozens, several dozen actually. And as you can see, looking at some of the old photographs, it's the same person. So it's the same girl tied to those phone numbers that are in Track. So when we started looking at Antoine to see if he was her pimp, we noted that he has previous criminal arrests for a number of different charges. He has 0 earnings. Remember I told you one of the things we can do in the state of Arizona is, or in most states in the United States, is we can find how much money a person's making at their job. In Arizona, we can go back 3 years to find out what the person's earnings are. Antoine has never had a job, and he's never worked at all. So this case here, we about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, we noticed that Alejandra was in Arizona posting ads. We had an undercover detective reach out to her by the phone, through the phone number. They ended up arresting her. They got a prostitution deal on her. They again asked her about Antoine. She didn't say anything. So we brought wrote a search warrant for the phone, her telephone, and one of the things we noted was there were several text messages back and forth between her and the phone number Antoine was utilizing in Track. So when Antoine was going to pick up money at Western Union or MoneyGram, whoever it was that he was receiving the money from, he had to provide a telephone number. He provided an ID and a telephone number. That phone number was what she was exchanging text messages with back and forth. And what she was doing was some of the same stuff we saw in a previous slide and we had talked about. She would tell him, when a customer would arrive, she would say, send him a text that said hi. And when the customer left, she would send him a text that said bye. And then how much money she made. And then there were text messages from him telling her that he just paid for her ad and he reposted her ad for her. About a month ago or so, a month and a half ago or so, Antoine was charged in the state of Arizona with pimping, or pandering, we call it, pandering, participating in a criminal enterprise, running a, I believe they charged him in operating a house of prostitution. I'm not sure if it fit, the criteria fit, but they said they had enough to charge him. But then we charged him with money laundering and the criminal enterprise charge, which really are the two, those are the two charges that we were able to tie back to financial transactions. He ended up getting arrested. He actually turned himself in. He found out he had a warrant, an arrest warrant, turned himself in. He appeared in court about 3 weeks ago or so. He pled not guilty. Alejandra have a child together, that the child has disabilities and that they don't have medical insurance to pay for the disabilities. So he has her doing this, traveling around the United States to make money. So they may be able to offer up a defense that, you know, what she was doing was consensual and she wasn't being pimped out by Antoine, which is all fine and dandy. But Antoine admitted, he's admitting to knowing what she was doing. And we have photographs of him. This was the other thing we did. We got photographs of him picking up the money at the stores. So we know it's definitely him. So he's knowingly receiving proceeds from a racketeering offense, which is money laundering in Arizona. So if these pimping charges fall through, we'll see what happens with it. The case is ongoing now. He pled not guilty. Like I said, he pled not guilty. The charges may fall through on the prostitution, or the pandering and operating a house of prostitution, essentially trafficking her. Those charges may fall through, but I'm pretty confident our money laundering charge is going to work. And that's the most severe charge of all the stuff we were able to charge him with, is the money laundering. Based off of his prior convictions, he'll end up going to prison if we get him convicted on the money laundering charge. So that's where we're at right now. It's just, I told you guys it was going to be a short presentation, but I wanted to show you guys how that case started strictly. We would have never have gotten Antoine had we not paid attention to the money. And it started from the money. And now this guy's looking at going to prison, which he should be. He's been doing this. I told you guys we get records $500 and above in our transactions because we're not interested in the family maintenance remittance. But when we have a case like this, what we'll do is we'll reach out to the money service business and we'll say, hey, we want all the transactions that are below 500 as well. And this is how we ended up uncovering transfers between her and Antoine going back 3 years. So she's been doing this, traveling around the United States for God knows how long. And I forget the dollar amount, but I want to say it was in the neighborhood of somewhere between like $50,000 and $75,000 that she sent to him through the MSBs over the past couple of years doing this stuff. So again, just an example. I thought it was important to talk to you guys about it because it's exactly what we've been preaching in terms of the holistic approach to doing these investigations. Like I said yesterday, it's not the only way to do it. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but it's absolutely another tool for you guys to have. And hopefully, you know, we'll see what happens with this. I'm really, because this will be the first one where we really have done in Arizona strictly off of, you know, from the money side of it, which is how it originated. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to you guys for, I know 3 days in a classroom setting can be long and tiring, but we've said it, we've talked during break and last night, and we've said it since we've been here. You guys have been great, super attentive. We appreciate it, appreciate the commitment that you guys have. The feedback has been great. Your questions have been great. Keep up the work. Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of bridging the gap in terms of being able to utilize your financial records. Some gaps that need to be filled with policy stuff like we were talking about earlier today. But the desire and the commitment is there from you guys, and that's 3/4 of the battle. So as long as you guys can get the rest of your country to buy into it and understand that, make it have higher awareness out there, and people start to understand that it's just not acceptable, I think you guys will make great strides. So before I'll hand the mic to Tony, but thanks again for everything, you guys.
Thank you. And this is with what Rich was talking about, and we had talked about foreign or international coordination and cooperation. Do you have similar counterparts in your neighboring countries? There is no NAPTIP in your neighboring countries or anyone that you could work with? That NAPTIP create a foreign prosecution and law enforcement unit where you could reach out to your foreign counterparts. And this is part of their duties and responsibilities. We use them for our child abduction matters and with our cases with Mexico. But this is part of their responsibilities. It says, the unit shall, upon request, assist local law enforcement agencies and foreign law enforcement in formal requests under the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, if you get treaties. It says the unit shall, upon request, also assist California law enforcement agencies and foreign officials in informal requests for mutual assistance. So if you have certain agents that you could reach out with your agents from other countries, let's say Spain or Italy, where you can coordinate with each other and help each other, even informally if you don't have a treaty, creating such a unit would be very beneficial to NAPTIP in identifying them. If you can do that, I think it would go a long way with getting that type of information and assistance with your counterparts in other countries. And that's something to consider that NAPTIP may do.
One thing I forgot to mention to you guys, last week before I came here, I attempted to get a hold of 2 individuals unsuccessfully, just because of the time difference, and we weren't able to connect. But so our Department of Homeland Security, HSI, in the United States, we have attachés in different countries, in most countries around the world. I attempted to contact our attachés in Spain and Italy because I know so many of your citizens end up there that get trafficked out of the country, particularly Spain and Italy, it seems like, based on the statistics. I'm going to reach out to them again next week when I get home. We do financial stuff. Our organization does. Obviously, that's what mainly we do, is we look at financial records. But as I said to you guys yesterday, we have a really big commitment. We work more human trafficking than anything. And it's just been one of our, the people that work at TRAC enjoy doing that type of work. So I'm flying out of here tonight. I know Tony and Amanda are leaving tomorrow, but I don't want you guys to think that, all is forgotten and we're turning the page on you. So I'm going to do everything I can do. I'm going to reach out to those individuals and see if there's anything I can do to put them in contact with you guys to see if there's any information that can be had that might help you guys out, and vice versa. And you guys have our contact information. Well, at least I am 8 hours behind you guys, but I'm an email away or a phone call away. Email is obviously the easiest way. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you might have. Particularly in the United States, we can absolutely help you out. I know most of your trafficking victims end up in either Europe or the Middle East, but I'll do anything, I know I speak for them. They'll do anything we can to help you guys out. So thanks again, and good job, you guys.
Any comments? Any comments? Please, okay. Because he wants to say something. Mr. Ushers, please, can you pass the mic?
Can Interpol be of any real assistance in terms of this attraction of this information? Do they have the capacity to help out on that?
So I think the question was, can Interpol be of any assistance with track? We don't. So we don't have. No one for Interpol uses track. We're limited with. So we help out the PGR in Mexico. We work with them fairly frequently. The PGR is the federal prosecutorial agency in Mexico. Because it's privacy issues, we're not able to pass financial records from somebody in the United States to somebody in a foreign country like Mexico. We're not allowed to do that. However, informally, we talk to them on the phone and we can point them in the right direction. So if you had a question that was track related, or if you were looking for some information that was track related, I would encourage you guys to send us an email, and we'll do everything we can to get you guys the information the right way. I hope that answered.
Thank you. And in other matters that aren't like that, we would, same way, deal with local and state agencies as well as the federal agencies in Mexico with our foreign prosecution and law enforcement unit to make those informal requests as well. So that's why creating such a unit for yourselves, I think, would be very beneficial in getting your contacts abroad. And then maybe you can get that information informally and you don't have to do a legal assistance treaty, but creating an identifiable unit that has that responsibility would go a long way for you to track information abroad and internationally.
Yes.
I think NAPTIP already has that. We have the Intelligence and International Cooperation Unit that liaises with police attaché and immigration attaché when it comes to human trafficking issue, and we do that a lot.
Mine is just a passionate appeal. From the 3 days we have spent here, I have no doubt in my mind that the team of resource persons that came here for these 3 days have a lot to do in terms of helping us, when I say us, the Nigerians, to come up with MLA, that's mutual legal assistance. Because I've gone through, in fact, I've tried to Google, and I've seen that we don't have any MLA with the US government. And with the wealth of experience that you all have here, I think the first step is this MLA. In as much as you might want to do things using the unofficial way to relate with you people, it's also important that we use the process, the right process. And that is why I say, even in your reports, as you're writing your report back to your home country, let that be part of what you should suggest to them, that there is need for us to have that MLA, and that it will go a step further to help NAPTIP as an agency to move this work of human trafficking forward. Thank you so much.
Okay, another question over there.
I want to use the opportunity to thank CWAG. And it is very clear that U.S. law enforcement, it's some miles away from what we do, but I think we are also catching up. And I just want to find out on two issues. One, is it possible for CWAG to mobilize resources that I can help NAPTIP build a world-class training institute that can deliver training, tailor-made training towards tackling human trafficking? Then number two, is it also possible for CWAG, through their own resources, help move our officers to US for hands-on training on some of these things that they put across to us? Thank you very much.
In respect of that, we are collaborating with the agency, and I know there have been talks along the way in that line, and when that gets to that time, it will be undertaken. But like I told you, that we're already collaborating, discussing with the agency in respect of that, because we know that training and retraining is the step forward, and exchange of information is also very important. Thank you. And there's another question at the back.
Yes, mine is not a question, it's just an observation. I want to personally observe that this training is extremely relevant to NAPTIP at a point in time like this, because we've witnessed that over the years, one of the major challenges in prosecution is over-reliance on victims as a tool for prosecution witness. And this training has sort of opened our eyes to the possibility, the actual possibility of successful prosecution without the involvement of victims as a witness, at the court level. I want to say, based on that if it is possible, of course, I know that this will be going to NAPTIP management, of course. Rising from here, we should be able to start up processes of making all the necessary movements, articulating all the necessary recommendations, so that the relationships that we need to create with Western Union, with NFIU, and the rest of them will start up. It might not come very easily because of so many things involved, but it's a commitment that CWAG is also getting from us that will put that to use. Thank you very much.
That comment is very, very important. And what we always advise in respect of training like this, and I'm sure Mr. Luby is very capable in that regard, is that indeed a communique should be developed, which has recommendations and all the learning points of this program. And that is what we use in making our campaign for better policies and all that. Because a communique, when it is developed and sent to the right quarters, I know there is a ministry that is supervising you and all that. Once it is sent to it, they see that indeed something was done here. I know somebody was able to give us a recap of the COPs today, after being ambushed, to give us a recap. You can imagine if that is put down in a proper format and sent to the right quarters. Of course, they will see the recommendations and the learning points, and that will be considered for better policies going forward. There's another comment over there.
Yes, I was thinking that we could expand our database. The one we have is not holistic. At a click, so that at a click we can get notes, suspected criminals or somebody that has committed an offense before and is still involved in human trafficking. So I'm thinking maybe CWAG could be of assistance in this regard.
Okay. In the database?
Expansion of the database. Expansion of our database.
Database. Okay. Like I said, it's a communication that should keep on going forward from now. A wonderful relationship has been established with the agency, and I'm sure that going forward it can only be made better and not be deteriorated. Any other comment? And with that, we have any comment? Did you raise your hand? Okay, with that, we have actually come to the end of this session and this training session. Please let us give ourselves a round of applause. You may not understand why I said that, but it is very, very important because I was remarking to some of your colleagues outside. I said this is the best training, like training that I have attended with government officials for a long time, because the conduct has been wonderful, very attentive. I know there was, please, you deserve that round of applause, you deserve that. I know there have been training I have been involved in before, and everybody comes there and just sits down, they don't participate, they just look at you as in, finish what you're saying and let us leave here. But that was not the case in this. I saw a committed set of people that are really committed to their work, that are passionate about what they do, and that showed in your comportment throughout the training. Please, another round of applause for yourself. Thank you so much. Tuchukwu, our indefatigable Desmond Garver. Emmanuel Awen, Sadatu Galadima, Sadatu Galadima. Toyin Olabisi. Toyin Olabisi. Gloria Bai. Where is the division? Where is the division into 3? I didn't hear you. Gloria Bai. Ekete Malachi. Forgive me. Samuel Okoroji. Ayani Yusuf. Amugo Ijoma. She's not here. Okay. Amugo Ijoma, she's not here. Let's keep it. Yes. Ologun Nagba Adeyemi David. She didn't come home. Okay. Hyacinth Okafor. Akindele Justina. I think they changed your name. Hyacinth. Ojugbana Benedicta. Ojugbana Benedict. Ojugbana Benedicta, sorry. Joseph Unongu. Joseph Unongu. Okay. Musa Shuaibu Ocholi. Steve Ibrahim. Musa Shuaibu is not here. Steve Ibrahim. Okay. Akinlade Justina.
Okay. No, okay, there's Akinlade. That's the right one. That's the right one.
Akinlade. Hakim Lawal. Okay. Balagalba Alia. Ihabunike Grace.
Okay, he's representing.
I think at this juncture we'll allow Amanda to rest so that Anthony can come. Hello, Anthony, please. Akeju Oluwafemi Daniel. Akeju Oluwafemi Daniel. Bello Akim Adedeji. Bello Akim Adedeji.
Bala, okay.
Olubuyi Olusayo. Mr. Olubuyi Olusayo, our indefatigable director. Yes, we'll do that later. Susan Ewung. Yes, I will give it to you. I'm coming. No, this one is not there. Ovie Faith. Susan Ewung. She's there. Ovie Faith. Ovie Faith. Akede Nneka Mary. Akede Nneka Mary. Not Ibrahim Mahmoud Muhammad.
Okay, you have the correct one.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so you've collected.
Ahmed was not part of it.
Oh, okay. Okparachi Buzo. Oga Godwin Akwanji. After that one.
Okay, we'll change it.
Oga Godwin Akwanji. Oga Godwin Akwanji.
Godwin, okay.
And as this juncture will allow Anthony to rest so that Rich can come and finish up. Okay. Rabbi Salma. Shehu Labaran Usman. Elisha Ono. Esang Benjamin. Sadiq Abubakar Atiku. Mama Nosa Tare. Is that what has been on the list of signing outside? I didn't mention it. Maman Onosakare. Onoja Hilary Abba. Maman Nosakare. Onoja Hilary Abba. Maman. Okay, Maman is not here. That one is. That's okay.
It sounds masculine. Look this way.
Gabe Festus Inonje.
Should we check this once again? In case they slept in. No need. Okay. All these ones were not around.
No, give me the bad one. We corrected. You gave us something corrected. Can you give me the bad one?
Okay, this is the bad one.
Okay. Gabe Festus. And then Olubi Labaran Adoti. Ijoma. And finally, Mr. Olubi Olusayo. Please, a round of applause as he comes. Okay. Please, hold this one separately. Please, can we have this one? Which one is it? Yes. Okay, sorry.
Hello? Please don't go away, especially those from the zones. My director wants to talk to you, wants to have a brief meeting with you, those from the zones. Hold on and meet after the section with my director. Please, please.